Your grandmother could darn a sock in the dark. Your grandfather could rebuild a carburetor with nothing but a wrench and a prayer. Now you throw away a phone because the screen cracked. What happened? There's a scar running through the heart of American life, a wound so deep we've forgotten it even exists. It's the death of repair, the murder of fixing things. And if you think this story is about nostalgia, about old men romanticizing the past, you're wrong. This is about control. This is about who owns your life. This is about a system that decided sometime in the middle of the 20th century that you shouldn't be allowed to fix what you own, that you should buy, break, and buy again, forever. Let me take you back to a world that doesn't exist anymore. A world where broken didn't mean garbage. Picture a kitchen table in 1945. The war is over. A father sits under a single hanging bulb, sleeves rolled up, a radio spread out in front of him like a patient on an operating table. Vacuum tubes glow amber in the dim light. His daughter watches from the doorway, smelling solder and cigarette smoke. He twists a wire, tests a connection, and suddenly, music, static, becomes swing. Louis Armstrong's trumpet fills the room. The radio lives again. Nothing was thrown away. Everything was saved. This wasn't a hobby. This was survival. This was dignity. In that same house, the mother sits by the window with a wooden darning egg and a basket of socks, worn heels, threadbare toes. She weaves new thread through the holes, creating a tight patch that will last another 6 months. The socks her husband wore in France, the socks her son will wear to school tomorrow. She could buy new ones, maybe, but why? These still work. And more than that, fixing them means something. It means you respect the labor that made them. It means you're not wasteful. It means you're not weak. This was the repair culture, and it wasn't quaint. It was brutal, practical, and necessary. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about what repair really meant in the decades before the 1960s. Before planned obsolescence became a business model. Before throwaway culture became the American religion. Repair was a language. An entire vocabulary of skills passed down through generations like heirlooms. Your father taught you how to re-sole a boot. Your mother taught you how to patch denim with an iron-on square and a prayer. You learned which tools did what. You learned that a Phillips head screwdriver wasn't the same as a flathead, and using the wrong one could strip a screw and ruin your whole day. You learned patience. You learned problem solving. You learned that most things, if you just slowed down and looked closely, could be understood. The objects themselves were designed for this. They wanted to be fixed. A 1950 refrigerator wasn't a sealed box of proprietary components and microchips. It was a machine. You could open it. You could see how it worked. Compressor, coils, freon. If something broke, you called a repairman, or you fixed it yourself, and the parts were available. The schematics were available. The knowledge was available. The manufacturer didn't fight you. They helped you, because a product that lasted 30 years was a point of pride, not a profit problem. Appliances had weight, literal weight. A washing machine from 1955 could survive a nuclear blast. It was built from steel and copper and rubber gaskets that could be replaced. When it broke, you didn't throw it away. You couldn't. It weighed 200 pounds, and your grandfather had helped you move it in. You called the guy. The guy came. He had a truck and a toolbox and a cigarette dangling from his lip, and he'd seen this problem 100 times. He'd replace a belt, tighten a drum, adjust a timer. 45 minutes later, it worked again. You paid him $15. The machine lasted another decade. This was normal. This was the default setting of American life. But here's what we forget when we get nostalgic. Repair culture wasn't born from virtue. It was born from scarcity. The Great Depression carved repair into the national psyche like a scar. Between 1929 and 1933, The economy collapsed. Unemployment hit 25%. Families lost everything: homes, farms, futures. In that kind of environment, you don't throw anything away. You can't. A broken chair becomes firewood only after you've tried to fix it 3 times. A torn coat gets patched until there's more patch than coat. Shoes get resoled until the leather falls apart in your hands. This wasn't resourcefulness. This was desperation dressed up as thrift. Then came the war. 1941 to 1945. Total mobilization. Rationing. Rubber, metal, fabric. Everything went to the war effort. You couldn't buy new tires. You couldn't buy new appliances. Factories that made refrigerators started making bomber engines. Factories that made radios started making radar. The entire industrial apparatus of America turned toward death and victory, and the people at home learned to make do. They learned to fix. They learned to improvise. They saved bacon grease for explosives. They grew victory gardens. They darned socks and patched tires and kept 1935 Fords running with baling wire and hope. The war ended. The soldiers came home, and for a brief, shining moment, it seemed like repair culture would continue. The skills were there. The mindset was there. The infrastructure was there. But something else was growing. Something new. Something hungry. The corporations had tasted wartime profits. They tasted scale. They tasted the power of mass production, of government contracts, of endless demand. And now, in 1946, they looked at a nation full of people who knew how to fix things, and they saw a problem. Because people who fix things don't buy new things. And if people don't buy new things, how do you grow? Enter planned obsolescence, the most cynical idea in the history of capitalism. Here's how it worked. Here's the con. In 1924, a group of light bulb manufacturers formed a cartel. They called it the Phoebus Cartel. Their goal was simple and evil. They wanted to limit the lifespan of light bulbs. See, engineers had already figured out how to make bulbs that could burn for 25,000 hours, maybe more. But that was a problem. If a bulb lasted 20 years, you'd only buy one bulb every 20 years. Bad for business. So the cartel agreed, in secret, to manufacture bulbs that would burn out after 1,000 hours. They engineered failure. They built short lifespans into the product, on purpose, and they fined any member who made a bulb that lasted too long. This wasn't incompetence. This was strategy. The Phoebus Cartel collapsed eventually, but the idea didn't. It spread. It metastasized. By the 1950s, planned obsolescence was everywhere. Appliances designed to fail after a certain number of cycles. Cars designed to rust. Fashion designed to go out of style. Even the concept of style itself became a weapon. You didn't need a new car because the old one broke. You needed a new car because the old one looked old, because the fins were last year's fins, because your neighbor had a newer model and you felt small. This was psychological warfare disguised as progress, and it worked. God, did it work? By the 1960s, repair culture was dying. Not because people forgot how to fix things, but because fixing things became harder. Manufacturers stopped publishing schematics. They stopped selling parts. They designed products that couldn't be opened without special tools. They made things cheaper, flimsier, more disposable. They flooded the market with so many options, so many models, so many upgrades, that keeping up became a full-time job. And then they sold you a story. They told you that new was better, that old was shameful, that throwing away and buying again wasn't wasteful, it was modern. It was convenient. It was American. The advertising industry became the propaganda arm of disposability. In 1955, an economist named Victor Lebeau wrote an article that should chill your blood. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here because his exact words were even worse, that the economy depends on making consumption a way of life, that we need to convert the buying and use of goods into rituals, that we need to seek our spiritual satisfaction in consumption. We need things consumed, burned up, replaced, and discarded at an ever-accelerating rate. Read that again. Burned up, discarded, at an ever-accelerating rate. This wasn't economics. This was a religion, the church of the new, and you were the congregation. Let me paint you a picture of what this looked like in practice. It's 1972. A woman buys a toaster. It costs $12. It's light. It's plastic. It's shiny. It has a cord that frays after 6 months. It has a heating element that burns out after a year. When it breaks, she looks at it. She thinks about fixing it. But the replacement parts cost more than a new toaster. And besides, she doesn't know how to fix it. It's not built to be opened. There are no screws, just plastic tabs that snap and break if you pry them. So she throws it away. She buys another toaster. $12. The cycle repeats. Her grandmother's toaster, the one from 1948, is still working. It's sitting in a thrift store somewhere, chrome and heavy, worth more now than when it was new. But nobody wants it. It's old. It doesn't match the kitchen. It doesn't have a digital display. This is the murder scene. And we're all standing around the body, pretending it's natural causes. Now, let's fast forward. Let's talk about today. About the world we live in now, where repair is almost illegal. You buy a phone. It costs $1,000. You drop it. The screen cracks. You take it to the manufacturer. They tell you it'll cost $600 to fix, or you can trade it in for $800 toward a new one. You do the math. You buy the new phone. The old phone, barely a year old, goes into a landfill in Ghana where children burn the plastic off the circuit boards to extract tiny amounts of gold and copper, breathing toxic fumes that will kill them before they turn 30. This is the system working as designed. But here's where it gets darker. The manufacturers don't just make repair expensive, they make it impossible. They use proprietary screws that require special tools. They glue components together so you can't replace a single part without destroying the whole device. They put software locks on hardware, so even if you swap out a broken screen, the phone won't recognize it and will disable features. They sue independent repair shops. They lobby against right-to-repair laws. They tell you that opening your device voids the warranty, as if you don't own the thing you paid for. You don't own your phone. You're renting the privilege of using it until they decide it's obsolete. This isn't just phones. It's tractors. Farmers, the people who literally feed us, can't fix their own equipment because John Deere put software locks on the engine. The tractor breaks. The farmer has to wait for an authorized technician, loses days of planting or harvest, loses money, loses crops. But John Deere's stock price goes up. It's medical equipment. Hospitals can't fix their own ventilators without violating terms of service. During the COVID pandemic, when ventilators meant life or death, repair techs were breaking the law to save lives. It's cars. Modern cars have dozens of computers. You can't diagnose problems without plugging into proprietary software. Independent mechanics are dying. Dealerships have a monopoly. And you, the person who paid $40,000 for a car, you can't even change your own oil without the dashboard throwing a warning light. This is extraction. This is feudalism with a touchscreen. But something is happening. Something's stirring. The people are waking up. The right to repair movement started small. Hobbyists, tinkerers, people who refused to accept that they didn't own what they bought. They started making videos, showing people how to fix iPhones, how to bypass software locks, how to solder, how to diagnose. A guy named Louis Rossmann in New York became a folk hero by filming himself fixing MacBooks and calling out Apple's anti-repair practices. He showed the world that a $2,000 logic board failure was often just a 50-cent capacitor that had blown. He showed the scam. And people got angry. Angry enough that states started passing laws. Massachusetts in 2012, New York in 2022. Laws that force manufacturers to provide parts, tools, and documentation to consumers and independent repair shops. Laws that make it illegal to design products that can't be fixed. The European Union is moving even faster. They're mandating repairability scores on products. They're banning planned obsolescence. They're telling corporations that the party's over. But here's the thing. Laws are good. Laws are necessary. But they're not enough. Because the real battle isn't legal. It's cultural. It's in your head. We've been trained for 70 years to believe that new is better, that consumption is identity, that the solution to a broken thing is a new thing. We've forgotten the satisfaction of fixing, the pride of making something work again with your own hands, the quiet rebellion of refusing to throw away. Repair is an act of resistance. It's a rejection of the system's core assumption that you are a consumer and nothing more. When you fix something, you're saying, I'm not helpless. I'm not dependent. I'm not a wallet with legs. I'm a person with skills and agency and patience. This is why repair matters. Not because it's cheaper, though it is. Not because it's better for the environment, though it is. But because it reclaims a part of your humanity that the system wants you to forget. Let me tell you what repair looks like now, in the lives of people who've chosen it. There's a woman in Portland who runs a repair cafe. Every Saturday, people bring in broken things, toasters, lamps, radios, clothing. Volunteers help them fix it. They teach them how. Nobody pays. Nobody profits. It's just people helping people undo the lie that broken means trash. She told a reporter once that the best part isn't saving the item. It's watching someone's face when they realize they can do this, when they realize they're not stupid or helpless, when they realize the system lied to them. There's a kid in Alabama who learned to fix tractors by watching YouTube videos. He's 17. He's saving his neighbors thousands of dollars by bypassing John Deere's software locks. He's a criminal, technically. He's also a hero. There are entire communities online, forums and Discord servers and subreddits, where people share schematics and tricks and workarounds. They're archiving manuals for devices that are 30 years old. They're reverse engineering proprietary tools. They're building a library of knowledge that the corporations tried to bury. This is the resistance. And it's growing. But let's be honest. Let's be clear-eyed. Repair culture isn't coming back the way it was. We're not going back to darning socks by candlelight. We're not going back to rebuilding carburetors in the driveway. The world has changed. Technology has changed. The skills required have changed. But the principle hasn't. The principle is eternal. Fix what you can. Learn what you don't know. Refuse to be passive. Refuse to be a consumer and nothing more. Start small. Fix something this week. Anything. Sew a button. Tighten a screw. Learn how to replace a phone battery. Watch a video. Ask someone who knows. Feel the satisfaction of making something work again. And then ask yourself why you were ever told you couldn't do this. Ask yourself who benefits from your helplessness. Ask yourself what else they've convinced you is impossible. Because here's the secret they don't want you to know. Repair isn't just about objects. It's about systems. It's about communities. It's about the belief that broken things can be made whole again. That includes you. That includes your neighborhood. That includes the world. The system wants you to think everything is disposable. Things, people, relationships, communities, ideas. The system wants you to throw it all away and buy the new model, shinier, faster, more convenient, just as empty. Repair says, no. Repair says, this matters. Repair says, I can fix this. Repair says, I refuse to participate in the cycle of waste and extraction and planned failure. Your grandmother knew this. Your grandfather knew this. They knew it in their bones because they lived through times when you had no choice. When broken meant you went without. When waste was a sin and fixing was a virtue. We have a choice now. We can choose to remember. We can choose to learn. We can choose to build a culture where fixing things isn't radical, it's normal. Where durability is valued over novelty. Where the skills of repair are taught in schools and passed down in families and shared in communities. This won't be easy. The corporations will fight. They'll lobby. They'll sue. They'll advertise. They'll tell you that fixing is dangerous, that you'll hurt yourself, that you'll break it worse, that you should just buy the new one. Ignore them. They're lying. They've always been lying. The future of repair isn't in the past. It's not nostalgia. It's not regression. It's a new culture built on old principles. It's high-tech tools in the hands of people who refuse to be helpless. It's open-source schematics and makerspaces and YouTube tutorials and legislation that protects your right to fix what you own. It's the idea that ownership means something, that when you pay for something, it's yours, truly yours, to use, to modify, to repair, to keep alive as long as you want. This is the fight. This is the line in the sand. On one side, a system that wants you dependent, passive, consuming until you die. On the other side, the quiet dignity of fixing what's broken. Choose your side. Pick up a screwdriver. Learn a skill. Fix something. Teach someone. Refuse to throw away. Refuse to give up. Refuse to accept that broken means the end. Because the repair culture isn't dead. It's sleeping. And it's time to wake it up. The world is full of broken things. But nothing is broken beyond repair. Not your toaster. Not your phone. Not your community. Not you. Fix it.